I know, it's crazy.
Okay, good afternoon. On behalf of myself, my brother George, and our families, I'd like you to silence your cell phones.
Sorry, Polly.
But I'd like to thank you guys for coming here and braving the weather again to be here. Just 4.5 dozen weeks ago, exactly 4.5 dozen weeks, we assembled in this same spot to celebrate my father, and we had hoped to have his service graveside, but a storm front came through just a few days before and dumped 10 inches of snow. Today we're here to celebrate my mother. Like last year, we had hoped to do the service graveside, but just a couple of days ago, blah, 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 10 inches of snow. If nothing else, my parents were the model of consistency. Matter of fact, I am too, because I just saw a video this morning. I'm wearing the same outfit as last year. Same sweater, same shirt, same pants. If you remember last year, I began by saying that my father was a man of very few words. My mother did not suffer such an affliction. Being strong of personality, she knew what she believed and didn't hesitate to tell you, no matter who you were. Chris, Jean, and I had a great friend nicknamed Mongo. Now, everyone imagine a man named Mongo. Now make him bigger in your mind. Well, Mongo, more than once, told people that the only person he was ever afraid of in his entire life was my mother. She scared him. My mother was not a woman of few words, as we said, but she was instead a woman of very few pictures. Between her wedding ceremony and, well, just a few short years ago, I truly believe that there is more consistent, convincing photographic evidence for the existence of Bigfoot than there is of my mother. Many of you either have seen or actually have pictures of my mom's hand. For most of my life, her pictures looked like this. Trust me, we go through the boxes of pictures and that's all they look like. They look just like that. In this, she was annoyingly consistent. For Dad last year, we had a nice poster with, you know, a whole bunch of nice pictures that Jean found. For Mom, I was only able to find one picture, I think, that said it all. It's from 1957. She was just 20 years old. That might be the last time she smiled and took a picture. Yeah, without being threatened. My wife got her to do some pictures in the last few years by threatening her. So, but Mom was not only strong of personality, she was very physically strong. She had a higher pain tolerance than anyone I've ever met in my entire life. She was quite fond of saying that she wasn't a sissy. Are we allowed to say that, Erin? Is that okay?
Say whatever you want.
Okay. She had 4 hip replacements. She looked really silly with 4 hips, but boy could she dance. After each one of those, though, she still walked around Disney with us. Just 3 years ago, she shattered her femur. The doctors said that she would probably never walk well again, but she did. And she did it without taking any hydrocodone or anything like that. She refused to. She didn't want to become an addict. Although she kept the Tylenol company in business since 1976, so there's a little bit of an inconsistency there. She loved to cook, she loved to bake, and she had a great love of the holidays. And with that, she was consistent in her belief that there should be certain excesses inherent in the holidays that would set them apart from the rest of the calendar year in the memory of everybody that participated. The holidays had to be different no matter what you did. When George and I were young, Thanksgiving started at 5 a.m. It started with fresh pies and cookies right out of the oven. Dinner was at noon, generally a full turkey, a turkey breast, maybe ham, and at least 10 vegetables. By 4 p.m., she was telling us to call her friends to come up for a sandwich. By 7 p.m., dessert, with 3 or 4 different types of pies and more cookies. And then, of course, there had to be a midnight snack. The weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas were meant for baking. That's what they were on her calendar. She baked. She was baking Christmas cookies. If you've never personally witnessed this manic time, you cannot possibly conceive the sheer magnitude of this endeavor. She would bake day in and day out 12, 15, 20 different types of cookies, and carefully all packed in little metal tins with scotch tape around the thing and a piece of bread in it. If you've never tried this, to get the bread in there to keep the cookies fresh, it works. So I recommend it. One year we counted. This was, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. When all was said and done, she had made well over 50,000 individual cookies. Okay, I have friends who say, oh yeah, I cooked 3 batches of Christmas cookies this year. And they make the cookies this big, you know, and so there's 9 cookies. No, my mother made one year, like I say, over 50,000 individual cookies. Now what did she do with all of them? I'm not going to pretend that I was born thin. So we ate quite a few of them. But she liked to spread the love. She gave them to everyone she cared about. Family, friends, her hairdresser, her doctors, some random people just walking down the street. She mailed them out to people. Anyone who looked like they needed a cookie. And invariably, some cookie tins would accidentally disappear in the back of the closet, and in April, we would open a little tin of Christmas love. Still fresh, thanks to the tape and a piece of Wonder Bread. I'm not sure if she ever purposely hid them and lost them, or if it just happened consistently. True to form, about a month ago, she was planning Thanksgiving. Though she no longer did any of the cooking, she passed that task off to me a few years ago and had passed the baking off to Jean and Chris. She, Jean, Chris, and my mom's nurse, Rhonda, were going through old recipes and deciding what she wanted us to make for Thanksgiving. It was a fun process. If you, even now, look at any of my mom's cookbooks, you can find editorial comments written in the margins of any recipe that she had tried. If she liked it, she wrote a variety of things: positive comments, possible changes, alterations, variations on a theme. If she didn't like it, she only wrote one thing: shitty. Open any of the cookbooks that are currently in my house and you will find recipes that just say shitty. Nothing more, not why, just that's what it was. I know this crap, and I hope I didn't offend anyone with that, but the word shit was my mother's word. I grew up with that word. Richard, Bob, Frank, where did she learn that word? Anybody have an idea? Okay, Richard was saying we didn't curse when we were alone, but my mother learned that word from her mother, and she also learned the word damn, which she learned from your mother. Okay, my grandmother used shit a lot, and your mother used damn a lot, because I remember it. In my mom's mind, shit never rose to the glory of being called a profanity. It was like lamp, TV. On the last day of her life, they had her on some pretty strong narcotics. Wow. I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, that's shitty. Okay, well, on the last long day of her life, they had her some pretty strong narcotics, and they gave her a shot of Narcan to bring her out of it, to assess her situation. I held her hand, and as she lay there, she kind of had her eyes half closed, and true to my mom, she said, "Am I dead?" No, Mom, you're not. She went, shit. That was honestly the last full cogent conversation I had with my mom, because a few hours later, with a group of us sitting there bedside, she slipped away. She loved family, she loved her friends, she loved baking, she loved the game Pollyanna, she loved the word shit, but especially she loved her time spent here on the farm in Jefferson. And when the weather allows, we will inter her here with the man she loved her whole life, and a land on which she consistently said she had spent the best times of her life. Richard, I think you wanted to say a few things?
Yeah. Shall I come up?
Sure, please do. Watch that, it's shitty.
Yeah.
Well, I'm up, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm up here because as kids, Bob and I basically had a sister. And her name was Patty. Well, why do I say that? Well, because when we were young kids, she was there every summer. She spent this summer with us. And I'm going to talk about some of the crazy things we did together as kids. But she was basically our sister. But before I get to some of those crazy things, I want to give you a little history. So how are Patty and Bob and Frank and how are we related? We always said we were cousins, but I'll tell you, until recent years, I wasn't exactly sure what that was. What was the link? Well, the guy's name was Franz Kubesch, or if you're an American, K-U-B-E-S, Cubes. So Franz Kubesch was a common great-great-grandfather of Patty, Bob, myself, Frank, our cousins. And that's where it started. And this guy came over in the late 1800s. He was the first of our family to come over. And that was the link. So now I also want to talk about some Patty's more recent relatives, particularly her mother, who we knew as Aunt Toots. And I want to talk about how close Aunt Toots was to our mother. They were like sisters. A little kind of a common theme here. Patty was our sister. So why was Aunt Toots and our mother like sisters? Well, she spent the summers in my mother's house in Schenectady. And when I say they were like sisters, I mean it. They had their secrets together. And the reason that Aunt Toots was there in the summer with my mother's house, was because her mother had died. Her father had remarried, and the stepmother was, the typical stepmother, I gather. Unhappiness was the story. And so to escape that, she spent her summers in Schenectady with my grandparents and my mother. And that was the link. So as they aged, Aunt Toots would, of course, come up to the farm frequently, and they would have things like sweet corn eating contests. Now, we grew sweet corn, so we had an infinite supply of this stuff. But these two gals would have these sweet corn eating contests, and boy, did they eat a lot of sweet corn. When Aunt Toots showed up, there were countless supplies of pastry. I don't know where she got it, but it was the best darn pastry, huh, Bob? It was. Yeah, and there was a lot of it, and I think Bob had his favorites, and I had his favorites, and we'd invade this one or invade that one. But Aunt Toots was a piece of work. And of course, that's the reason why she had Patty spend the summers with us. And I don't think Bob even remembered this, that during the polio epidemic, Aunt Toots had Patty spend part of the school year with us. She actually attended the Jefferson Central School. I don't remember for how long, but it was a good share of the year, and she was there to escape the polio epidemic. Okay, now let me talk about some crazy stuff that Bob and I and Patty kind of did. We would go hunting, young kids now, I'm talking young kids. We didn't have a shotgun or a rifle or anything like that. We went hunting, Patty, Bob, and I, we went hunting for woodchucks and rabbits in the following way. We had a dog, a cow dog named Pat. And we would walk along the stone walls, and we had countless feet of stone walls until the dog went yap, 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 which meant there was a woodchuck in that place, or there was a rabbit in there, and we would peel back the rocks until the dog could get the rabbit or the woodchuck. Well, we did this a lot of times, because my father came up to us one time and he said, hey, what's going on with those stone walls? Well, we're just hunting, Dad. Yeah, so we did that. Patty became kind of a tomboy because of the influence, I would think, of the two crazy brothers she had there. And she, during the summer, Bob and I always got haircuts, close haircuts from my grandfather Chervika. And the haircuts were given with hand clippers. This is old technology, right? Clip, clip, clip. Well, when you go clip, clip, clip with hand clippers, first of all, some clips and some pulls. I got a guy shaking his head back there. Okay, so Patty sees us getting this. She decides, okay, me too. So Grandpa, clip, clip, clip. I'm not sure Aunt Toots was in on this, but Aunt Toots wasn't around. Clip, clip, clip. Patty was just as bald as we were. And then came September, when she had to go back to school. And I think she was a little embarrassed by that. Yeah. We would swim together in the hole, in the swimming hole down in our creek. And yeah, Patty was always there. And it wasn't just the summer. Aunt Toots would show up with Patty and her father at all kinds of times, Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. And they would show up sometimes even during hunting season. And there was a story where Patty's father and our Uncle Joe Chervenka, both heavy drinkers, went out in the woods, and the other hunters found them both asleep under a pine tree out there from a little bit of overindulgence. Yeah, I have a lot of good memories of Patty, as you can imagine. Bob, did I leave any out?
Oh, yeah, remember when we read?
Oh, my God, yes. Bob and I are transvestites, I guess. I guess. For whatever reason, there are 100,000 pictures of this floating around. Bob and I and Patty are in these pictures with dresses on. Our mothers dressed us up in those dresses.
Bows in our hair.
And the bows.
With bows in our hair. Yeah, we're transvestites, Bob. Yeah. I guess if my mother said dress up, we dressed up, right? We didn't talk back. No. Yeah. Yeah. Any other one, Bob?
I heard a different story of why you were in the dresses.
Why?
My mother told me that that the three of you had said some nasty things to a young lady down in town or something, and that was a punishment.
That's
Yeah,
possible.
so your mother told me it was a punishment too.
Well,
So Billy, I'm with you.
it's possible. I wonder what we did, Bob. What
I
did we?
don't know.
I don't remember. Yeah, I'm sure it was true.
You said something unbecoming of a young gentleman.
Yeah.
And it
And
was
it probably wasn't either shit or dams.
Yeah.
because my mother was a tomboy, it was a punishment for her to wear a dress too, because to be honest with you. we wore
Yes,
dresses.
yes, absolutely.
By the way, I have a picture and I put it on,
I have it.
yeah,
I have it with me.
you have it with you.
Yeah.
With our grandfather with Patty in her wedding gown.
Yeah, our grandfather, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
In the barn.
So our grandfather must have gone to the wedding, her wedding, and we stayed home and took care of the cows.
Yeah,
So,
and Bob I don't even remember that, but Bob remembers it well, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I don't think Patty did too much milking of cows.
no.
No, she didn't do much of that kind of stuff. But I think probably drove the tractor or something, right? Bob and I got the dirty jobs, and she got the civilized jobs.
She was a guest.
Huh?
I said she was a
Yeah,
guest.
She was a guest, she was a guest, a constant guest. Well, I probably could dredge up more stuff, but you got the essence of what I had to say. I'll miss her. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, well, like I say, same bat time, same bat channel. We will be repairing to the verbal that we had last year, and you know, regaling each other with more stories. So I thank you, and food. So I thank you all for coming here. If you don't have the address, well, I sent it to the group chat for you guys. And I think pretty much everybody here might have gotten a text
And,
from me.
and Pollyanna.
Yeah, well, and,
There'll be Pollyanna in honor
And
of
something
Patty.
blue.
yeah, just so that we can clarify that something blue. Probably about 20 years ago, we were all down in Disney, my brother, his family, Gene and I, and my mom and dad, and we went into one of the restaurants, and my wife wasn't wearing her glasses, so she couldn't see the beverages on the drink menu. And just at that point, a waitress walked by with something in a glass that had a light up ice cube in it, and the beverage was blue. And my wife just saw it, she said, okay, I'll have that, that's something blue. Now, in the menu, it was called something blue. So my mother was not a big drinker. We actually had to teach her how to drink over the last few years, because, you know, but she was very fond of saying, is Gene gonna come and make us something blue? So it didn't matter what the drink was, as long as it was blue colored, she was. So we will be, well, in honor of recent things, we're gonna be having blue lemon drops today, and toasting that to my mother. But thank you, everybody, for coming, and you know, let's go meet back out at the Verbo and enjoy each other's company. Thank you.